Welcome to the Player Attack summer season, thanks to Wargaming. We're taking a few weeks off to relax, go outside, enjoy the sunshine. Wait, who am I kidding? We're going to be playing our way through a whole stack of video games. Player Attack will be back in 2014. We've already got some exciting things in store, so stay tuned. We will still be updating playerattack.com throughout the holiday season, as well as hanging around on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can drop us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, if you've got something to say. In the meantime, why don't you take a little while to catch up on some of the Player Attack highlights from the past year as we revisit some of our favourite clips.
With the much-awaited Xbox One hitting shelves around the world this week, the most important decision for any gamer to make is what games to buy. We've done the research for you and rounded up the top 5 games that you should get your hands on as soon as possible. First up, Forza Motorsport 5, exclusive to the Xbox One. If racing games are your thing, then this realistic venture from Microsoft is the way to go. With the addition of open-wheel race cars to this next instalment and a few extra tweaks, we think this game is going to be a must-have for Xbox One owners. The inclusion of the Bathurst track brings the circuit count up to 14, with hints that more may be released as a DLC after launch. You'll be racing with 200 cars from more than 50 manufacturers. This is actually less than you had in Forza 4, but developer Turn 10 promises that it's emphasising quality over quantity.
Hello? Anybody in here?
Another must-have exclusive, Zombie Hunter Dead Rising 3. Longtime fans of the series are understandably wary of this third offering, handled by the team at Capcom Vancouver. There's a new protagonist, Nick Ramos, replacing longtime hero Frank West, and a new setting which brings the game to California. But you shouldn't worry, the more some things change, the more they stay the same. With more than 3 times as many zombies on screen at any given time, you can still dress up and take selfies, still drive steamrollers through crowds of zombies, and still pick up just about anything and turn it into a weapon. It's not one for the faint of heart, this one is rated R after all, but if you're the sort of person who enjoys dispatching wave upon wave of the undead, Dead Rising 3 is for you.
Keep your eyes peeled. I don't think we're alone. Destroy any hives, arm that nuke, and haul ass back here. Roger that. Sector 1 copy.
Call of Duty Ghosts is not an Xbox One exclusive, but its development has been closely tied to the new platform, and it's the console FPS we'd recommend. The highly anticipated shooter was released on Xbox 360, PS3, PC, and Wii U on November 5th, but it's something extra special on the Xbox One. Take advantage of the new generation multiplayer features, the glorious graphics, and explore the all-new storyline. We've got a full review later on in the show, but wanted to put your minds at ease. If you're the sort of person who's concerned about frame rates, relax. Yes, Ghost runs at 720p on the Xbox One and is upscaled to 1080p. The end result, believe it or not, is a super smooth experience without any noticeable drop in performance. Don't go thinking the Xbox One is a super serious console though. There are some games that are just for mucking around too, and our pick is the latest Just Dance from Ubisoft. The current gen versions have been around since early October, but if you haven't picked it up yet, it's worth waiting around for the new hardware.
We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. You don't need no papers. That man is not your maker. And that's why I'm gonna take a good girl.
For starters, the Xbox One is the only place you'll be able to get all your friends on the floor in 6-player dance crews. We're promised console-exclusive tracks, a Just Dance DJ mode, and the brand new Party Master mode, only available on next-gen consoles. The new Kinect 2.0 technology means the game is more sensitive than ever, so your Xbox won't miss you catching those tricky moves. But what really makes Just Dance 2014 the perfect party game is one new addition to the smash hit franchise, karaoke. And while we wanted to keep this to games you could grab right now, there is another Xbox One game that is too good to ignore, even if it won't be out until next March.
You said it would be tough to start over, but I didn't listen. You said more would follow. I thought they'd leave us alone. was wrong.
Titanfall from Respawn Entertainment really does look like it could be the game that makes this console. It's been a while since we've had a good, quick, multiplayer arena shooter, and it looks like we're in for a treat with Titanfall. The storyline is simple. You're on a war-torn planet inhabited by both human pilots and giant robotic mechs called Titans. You play as both, jumping in and out of the pilot seat as required, and your task, to put simply, is to take out your opponents. Titanfall has already won Game of Show awards all over the world, with its mix of fast-paced action and giant mechs, and from what we've seen so far, the hype is worth it.
I'm gonna make them pay.
Microsoft's new console is out right now, with more than 20 games to choose from. If you didn't put down a pre-order for your own Xbox One, you might be left waiting. Demand for the new machine is at an all-time high. Don't stress though, and don't pay inflated prices on eBay. Microsoft is working hard in an effort to get consoles in houses by the end of the year.
Roll out. World of Tanks. Play for free at tanks.asia.
Player Attack was recently invited behind the scenes at Disney Mobile's California studios to take a sneaky peek at the team's brand new game, Where's My Mickey? We dropped in during the last few days of development and were able to watch some of the magic at work. Building on the successes of earlier games like Where's My Water and Where's My Perry, it made a lot of sense for the developer to turn to its most well-known and well-loved character in this new look, new feel physics puzzler. We caught up with Bart Decrem, Senior Vice President and General Manager of Disney Mobile, for a quick chat.
The studio is all about, first and foremost, what Tim Fitzgerald calls it, what's the toy? You know, the thing that you do with your fingers that's just so satisfying. And so the Where's My gameplay mechanics, which are about physics-based puzzles that use elements that everybody knows, what's water, how does it cut through soil, all of that stuff is there. And then we take it in new directions. When we go from Where's My Water to Where's My Mickey, now we have clouds and we have wind and we have sun, and sun makes things grow, and the wind makes the cloud blow over, and clouds absorb water and then they release water. So all that stuff that we all know, it layers that on top of the core, cutting through soil, and so it's still there, but it gives us new opportunity for great new puzzles. And then we say, how does that fit the world? Where does that overlap with the world of Mickey and his friends? And that's how you end up, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, you need water. Or in the case of Goofy, which is one of my favorite stories, he learns how to paint, now he needs paint, so then you bring paint to his paint bucket. And so really taking both parts of it very, very seriously. What's the gameplay? How does that fit these characters in that universe? How do we make that really work?
The Disney Mobile team are masters of making things really work. Over the past 12 months, Where's My Water has seen a 300% increase in players, now boasting more than 200 million installs worldwide. Where's My Mickey is set to continue this tradition, combining the world's most recognizable character with the #1 mobile gaming series.
So that the yin and yang of what I think has made the studio so successful is a really good understanding of it all starts with the fun thing that you do with your finger, that toy, as we like to call it here in the studio. Then we ask ourselves, well, what's the world where this all takes place? And then the third thing we do is we say, well, how do you deliver success on a very noisy platform, the App Store, the App Store's Google Play? And the answer is you build exceptional quality and gameplay. You bring different IPs into it as the gameplay evolves. That's how Mickey steps in. And then you build platforms. And so, but you don't build them in a sloppy manner. You take the Where's My Water gameplay and you say, okay, well, how can we keep evolving that and raising the bar on the mechanics, raising the bar on the art and animation, so that you keep over-delivering to the guests, as we call them.
Over-delivering is a theme at the Disney Studios, no matter which office you're in. While we were in California, we also headed over to the Walt Disney Archives. We had spent the morning looking to the future, but Justin Arthur shared with us a very special look at the past.
As many of you know, Walt Disney's first cartoon character that was a big hit was actually Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, who premiered in 1927. Well, when Walt faced problems with the distributors when he went to New York, he actually found out that they were going to be taking away the rights of the character Oswald and many of his animators. And as Walt always told the story, or as the fable sort of went, Mickey was thought up by Walt on that train ride from New York back to Los Angeles. Walt worked hard with iWorks, who was his sort of best animator at the time, and they were working side by side with these animators who were also working on the Oswald cartoons that had already been hired off. And so meanwhile, they were working on, sort of secretively at nighttime, Walt and his more loyal staffers had stuck around, and they were working on a Mickey short called Plain Crazy, which was silent like all of the Oswald cartoons and all the cartoons were in those days. And so they produced that one, and they produced another Mickey Mouse short called Gallopin' Gaucho, which also was a silent film, but Walt was having a little bit of trouble selling these cartoons, and he was thinking of, bigger, grander ideas. And so they worked on a cartoon with the idea that it would have synchronized sound. And that very first cartoon was Steamboat Willie, and we now know that as Mickey's screen debut because that was his first appearance on the big screen in public, and they had to work really hard to have synchronized sound because nobody had ever done that in a cartoon.
Now, if you've been paying attention, you will have noticed the brand new art style for Mickey, Goofy and the gang. 85 years after that classic train ride, and Mickey is returning to his roots with a brand new series of animated shorts coming out this year. They're designed to reintroduce our favourite rodent to an all-new generation as the very talented Paul Rudish revisits the old-school rubber hose designs. Disney Mobile grabbed the idea and ran with it.
Paul on Disney Animation has done to bring to life Mickey for these new shorts. It's just so much fun. It's the Mickey that you know. He's beautiful, the scenery, the humor. He explores, he saves the day, he gets into trouble, he gets out of trouble, and I think it really resonates with the generation that we're speaking to. There's a whole new generation of kids and families and people all around the world that are discovering Disney, and for many of them, the iPhone, the iPad, the new tablet platforms, Android, Microsoft, this is now becoming increasingly the first screen, and it's really great to be able to just pull on that work that Paul has done with the Mickey shorts and combine it with the Where's My Gameplay and take that in new directions.
Where's My Mickey is out right now for iPhone, iPad, Windows Phone and Android, so check your local app stores for details and pricing.
Project Spark is one E3 title that didn't push itself too hard, but it certainly aroused some interest among game developers at the show. It's a launch title for the Xbox One, but was far away from the hype and glamour of a huge title like Rise. It'll work across Microsoft systems, meaning that you'll be able to play it on the new Xbox One, as well as its daddy the 360, and other Windows 8 devices like PCs or tablets such as the Surface. This versatility is impressive, but even more impressive is its price, $0. Yes, it'll be free to play on release, and although we can expect some microtransactions, they have to make some money after all, we've been assured that all the core tools will be available for free. So what is Project Spark? Well, it's less of a game as such and more of a platform for designing games. It's a bit like Minecraft, but without the survival mode, and it includes many more options. In design mode, it has an isometric or 3D perspective, so it looks more like a real-time strategy game than a first or third-person shooter. The first step is to develop landscapes in which your own games will play out. Building and taking away land is easy. You simply select a tool and click or swipe across the screen to add or subtract land, a bit like the old-school Populous. Any land below a certain line will allow water to creep in, so lakes, rivers and tunnels are easy to develop. It is then possible to assign biomes to plots of land, meaning that you can create desert, forest or frozen tundra with a simple click. There are 3 sizes of trees to build, which allows for a sense of scale. Simply imagining these landscapes for your game prompts a lot of creativity. After this, you populate your landscape with objects. We're promised that the options will be wide and varied, including houses, animals, rocks, goblins, or collectible objects. You can assign text-based speech to any of these objects, and you can then assign pre-designed brains to objects or design your own. A brain will define behaviours and parameters for an object. For example, the exploding bird brain programs the object, not necessarily just a bird, to fly into the air when the player approaches and explode in a shower of feathers. The programmers out there might recognise this as a simplified form of object-oriented programming, which means that yes, this game might help kids to learn some important stuff. Well, it's important if you're planning to live in the future anyway. All of these tools are designed to allow the creation of worlds and games with narratives, objects, levels, challenges, and everything we'd expect in a commercial game. You can quickly switch between design and play mode in order to test out your creations every step of the way. Now, we've seen this before in a game called Little Big Planet, which offered an amazingly accessible level editor in what was basically a platforming game. Other applications like Alice, Scratch and Greenfoot also encourage users to learn simplified forms of coding, but Project Spark looks like it may provide the most accessible, rich set of tools yet. If starting from scratch is too overwhelming, Crossroads mode gives templates and models that can be altered every step of the way. You are given the choice of landscape type, objects for collection, tasks, heroes, villains and narrative structures, and you can elaborate these however you like. Project Spark has also picked up from Little Big Planet in making possible a large creative community to share projects and designs. This community has already created intricate and diverse games, including a full rendition of an episode of Miami Vice, complete with cheesy dialogue and car and boat chases. I'd imagine that smaller groups would also work on projects collaboratively, enhancing the social learning that goes on. But here's the interesting thing. It's not just the final product that's shared as a playable game. You can also get under the hood of all these designs to see how they work and get ideas for your own creations. You can even adapt the design of someone else's level and republish it under your own name. And all the creators who contributed to all versions of each game will be credited. This Creative Commons philosophy is very heartening, and it's a nice change from the proprietary approaches we so often see in games and software. All up, this looks like a very impressive creation tool that might well achieve the developer's dream of putting amazing creative power in everybody's hands. I think that this has huge educational potential, both in IT and programming, but also for more general digital literacy, as well as design and creativity. If you doubt the power of this learning, just Google Sir Ken Robinson. All up, I'm very excited about Project Spark, partly for the learning, but mostly for the fun.
Roll out. World of Tanks. Play for free at tanks.asia.
You guys are down here for the first time overseas. What do you think of Australia so far?
Pretty awesome.
It's nice. You got really nice winters. Other than yesterday, it was kind of gloomy, but
and wet and cold.
But
yesterday.
other than that, it's been really nice.
So you're coming back then, hopefully?
Yes.
Yes. It's up to you. Actually,
people
if you want us to
just
come,
up to Sydney.
Yeah.
If the Sydney shows don't go well, we're not coming back ever.
Ever coming back.
we'll just go to Melbourne then.
So if we don't come back, you can all blame Sydney.
We'll start some sort of a civil war.
Yeah.
Yes. Can we do that?
So explain the Protomen to people who've never seen you, never heard of you.
Yesterday, somebody in one of the panels said, was it the panel?
Yeah.
He said that we are, what was it?
Queen
with robots. And that doesn't offend me.
It's not too bad.
No, that's about right.
Yeah, we always tell people, they ask what genre, and I just say rock opera.
Yeah.
And either they get it, or they just goes right over their head, and you have to explain rock opera, and they still don't get it.
Yeah, it's like explaining a joke to somebody. Like once you have to explain the joke.
Well, you tell the joke, and then you have to explain it, and
it's not
funny.
a joke anymore. It's just like, ouch. This is awkward.
So basically, we're a joke until we're not funny.
That doesn't make... No.
Okay.
None of that. Hopefully we're not...
It starts out not funny.
Well, yeah,
But it gets funny
and
once
then
you
it gets
get it.
really
It's funny.
funny.
It does get funnier.
And then it eventually gets not funny again, but
then it
it'll
gets
come
funnier.
back around.
It's a roller coaster of funny.
Where did the idea for a rock opera band that Queen with robots, where did that come from?
Want a real answer or a ridiculous answer?
Let's get both.
All right. I'm just going with real because it's more complicated to come up with a fake one. We actually met in school, recording school, and did that action for a while, and had to do recording projects, and kind of snowballed into, hey, let's make the most ridiculous projects you possibly can, because recording terrible country artists in Nashville, Tennessee is very boring, and everybody's doing it, and what's the point of that? So we were just like, let's just make the most ridiculous stuff we can think of.
We got in a room and hammered out the first song.
Yeah, that's about it.
And that really.
And then it was like, well, this thing can be a story, and this thing can be a pretty awesome story, so let's just push it. And so here we are, 75 years later.
10 years later.
Old men playing songs about a video game.
The third act, Act 3 in the Protomen saga is coming out soon. Can you give us some details?
Coming out next week.
I'll tell you what.
Not at all.
It can be coming out soon. If you wait to air this, like, I don't know,
7
year and a half from now, yes, it's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, it really just depends on when you
depends on when you air this.
You could hold it back and we could give you a phone call.
And just
say, air it now. Air it now.
You can have, like, we could give you the scoop.
You could be the one that releases the date.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be pretty awesome.
Okay. What year is this?
2013.
This is okay.
In Australia, though, it might be different.
Oh yeah. They have
Okay.
different years here.
Since we wrapped. Okay, June 22nd. And you can release it whatever year you want to.
How about that?
You
Or-
can just put this
you know-
out June 22nd in 2028, and there it is.
We actually thought you would ask this question, so we were thinking of an answer for it. And I thought we should answer with July 16th, 2013.
The day the Protomen
The
never
day
saw.
we never saw.
that day.
We never saw that day.
Oh, because you flew over the international date line and
Caught our planes at like 11 at
Langoliers,
night.
that shit.
And by the time we flew an hour, out of LA, because LA is just what, about 5 or 6 hours to the break of the day? I don't know, it's something like
You have
that.
to get past Hawaii.
And Hawaii is like 2 hours out of that. Anyways, by the time we'd reached, just at that time, was when the time moved forward a day for us. So we missed that date entirely. So that's the day Act 3 was able for everybody to hear, but we were stuck on a plane and we couldn't let you guys listen to it.
Sorry.
So we're gonna wait like a year or something to put
Blame Australia.
It is Australia's fault for being ahead of time.
And that's about it for this week's Player Attack. Thanks for watching. We will have new content for you in February, but in the meantime, you can catch us on playerattack.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, or just hop on our forums. Till we revisit some more favourite content next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.